Hi there, it's Nicole for Simon Says Stamp, and today I've got a watercolor mod flower background to share with you. This is one of my very favorite techniques, creating a stamped and embossed background that I have watercolored with Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. I love this technique and it's one of my favorites. This mod flower background is perfect for this technique. I've got a piece of A2 sized Bristol Smooth cardstock here that I'm using a powder tool on, and then I have taken the foam insert out of the Misty. I am inking up the mod flower background with clear embossing ink, stamping this on the background, and then we'll sprinkle on some white embossing powder and heat set it. I do want to mention this had to be recreated when I went to do the voiceover for this video. I had created this card about a week and a half prior to doing the voiceover. I had lost a whole bunch of my footage, so I am not going to share the coloring of everything. We're going to color maybe about 2/3 of this background panel. That is because I did not get the background stamped as well as I did the first time. I was pretty disappointed that I had lost all of my footage, but I still wanted to be able to share with you guys the coloring and the process for creating this background, so I did recreate a portion of it for you. Once I have my white embossing powder on there, I am going to hit this with a heat tool. I also want to mention, because I recreated this background, I will be doing something with the part of it. I'm thinking of maybe die cutting it into a heart shape and popping it onto a card. We'll see. Be sure to check out my Instagram and Facebook and other social media feeds a little bit later this week, and I will be sharing something that I created with this. I really do not like to waste any little thing like this, and because there's nothing wrong with the part of this that I actually do color, I want to find some sort of useful way to make a card out of it. We all need thank you cards, so I'm thinking that this will just make another fantastic thank you card. Now I have temporarily taped down my panel. This is what I did for the original and the one that I'm recreating here, and that is to help hold it a little flat because we're going to add some water. It's really hard to see. I think maybe this is a little better than some. You can see the embossed lines on the white, but white on white is really hard to see. Once you start adding in a little bit of color, it's a lot easier to see. What I love to do is put down my dark color, blend out with my little bit lighter color, and then blend out even more with a water brush pen. This is going to create that fantastic watercolor effect. The embossed lines help hold the color into each section so it doesn't really migrate outside of that. These are simple, fun, and easy lines to color. I just absolutely love this stamp. You could do this in any color combination you want. I went definitely kind of the rainbow effect look, but something a little different that I'm going to do that I'll share with you as we get a few more of these blooms colored. One of my very favorite things is to do something a little unexpected with the background. You guys probably have seen me create quite a few backgrounds with a stamped and watercolored background that features some sort of a blue. I tend to gravitate towards blue when I am designing something like this, but something that I love that, as I mentioned, is unexpected is gray. I think a gray background really makes everything pop as well. And in this case, I think blue would have blended into some of the blossoms and things a little too much. I still think blue would be pretty, but in this case, the gray really makes everything stand out. And I'm going to show you the best way to do that here in a little bit. I'm just kind of working my way through. There's lots of flowers, lots of leaves, all those little circles. I'm filling those in with colors kind of as I go. Dark color laid down first, lighter color to blend it out. The colors I am using are listed and linked below the video here. I thought it would be easier to do it that way because I'm switching back and forth so much in this video. So instead of listing them all out kind of as I'm coloring, I link them down below. So if you are wondering at any time exactly what colors I am using, that's where you can find that. These are a lot of my favorite color combinations. You're going to want to come back next week as I will be sharing a video that swatches my favorite Zig Clean Color Real Brush Marker color combinations. This is something that I have had requested many, many times. And I am slowly and surely working through that with not only the Zigs, but I have a Copic one started and planned as well. So for anyone kind of wondering, you know, and whoever has been asking, what are your favorite color combinations and things like that, I'm going to list them out for you, because another thing I get asked a lot is which set to buy. I have never bought any of mine in sets. I buy them individually because I tend to not want every color. I generally know kind of what colors I love, and so that's what I go for. Here's an acrylic block. I'm using it as my palette. I scribbled the gray Zig Clean Color Real Brush Marker onto this. I use my water brush pen I really even pushed out a little extra water there. Picking this up, blending it all the way around all of my flowers. Kind of messy, really quick and easy and fast. I did not, worry too much about perfection. And in the original, I did pick up that tape along the edge and move it as I was working. I moved it to a dry area because I wanted this edge to edge. My background for my card is A2 sized. I'm going to finish coloring that all in, and then I have die cut some greetings. We've got a greeting background with the big thanks, die cut from white cardstock. The thanks itself, die cut from smoke gray Simon Says stamp cardstock. And then I've got a scrap of island blue Simon Says cardstock that I am stamping a phrase from the big thanks stamp set on. Using my clear embossing ink, we're going to sprinkle on white embossing powder and cut this into a thin strip. I've mentioned a couple times in previous videos, I tend to gravitate towards black or dark gray for these little sentiment strips, but every once in a while, a card really, I think a black cardstock strip would take away from the design. This is one of those. The background is super bright and colorful. I die cut my die cuts from neutral colors of cardstock. We're going to pop those up and make those stand out. I really felt like bringing out a color from the background, any color. You could pick anything, red, pink, aqua, yellow even, anything, green. I just chose the island blue. I thought it kind of looked nice with some of the blue going on in the card, but you could use anything. I love how that looks as opposed to a black cardstock strip. So sometimes a colorful cardstock strip, sentiment strip, is just what you need for a card. I'm going to glue my smoke gray sentiment onto the white shadow. I used a little Ranger multi-matte medium to get that on there. There's a little bit of glue. I'm using a piercing tool to kind of pick that up. Now I could glue this directly on the background, but as I was looking at it, this is a busy, busy background. I decided I'm going to go ahead and die cut that shadow from some fun foam and glue my layers to this fun foam before adhering it to my card. It's going to automatically pop it up. Instead of trying to piece together foam adhesive on the back of this die cut, it would be kind of time consuming. It would be maybe a little tedious. Just die cutting this from some fun foam and gluing it to the back worked like a charm. Then I'm just going to put another layer of glue on the back of this and pop it on my card. The only drawback to this is that it may take a little bit longer to dry. You could definitely back the fun foam with stick-it adhesive if you wanted to and do it that way. I just used liquid adhesive today. I kind of wanted to see how it would work because I generally do use stick-it adhesive. Then I'm going to put a foam adhesive strip on the back of my greeting and pop it right there underneath the thanks, centering my greetings in the center of the card. That is all this design really needs. There does not need to be a ton of extra embellishment. Our background in this case really is the embellishment for this card. It's a bright, beautiful background that is really fun to look at. I'm going to put adhesive on the front of my side fold card base, pop my panel down there right in place, and then I put an acrylic block on top of my glued die cut sentiment because that's going to help hold it down, hold it in place until that glue is completely set and dry. The last thing I'm going to do is take a little glossy accents and draw over the word thanks with a fine tip applicator. I love this Scrap Perfect applicator on my glossy accents. I have received a lot of questions about this as well, especially recently for whatever reason. I have had this applicator for, I want to say, at least a year, maybe longer. It has been on multiple bottles of glossy accents, and every once in a while it may clog. Hardly ever, but it will once in a while, and I'll just take a straight pin and unclog it. But I have had the best luck with it. It does not clog every time. It is a really fantastic fine tip applicator, and I really, really love it. So I'm going to just do this fine line of glossy accents all over my greeting, and when this dries, it's going to make the word thank stand out even more because it's going to have a fantastic glossy raised finish. I'm going to finish with a little honeybee stamps candy heart there, and I think this is the Kiss Me color, and it just finishes off my greeting perfectly. Thank you so much for joining me today for this watercolored background card featuring the Mod Flower background stamp from Simon Says Stamp. The supplies I used are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Simon Says Stamp that you might be interested in. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.